I'm a engineering student, like, and I was very good at school, and like I was very good with maths. I could imagine in my head engineering problems, and
Mhm.
now I can't.
Yeah.
It's very, very hard. I
Mhm.
have to write everything down. I have to draw everything. Days later, I realized that I wasn't feeling the same as I
Mhm.
was before.
Mhm.
I realized that I wasn't feeling emotions like I should. Uh, Mainly, I realized with romantic emotions, like
Mhm.
I couldn't feel romantic emotions as I
Right.
used to, and also like I wasn't as attracted sexually. I speak to the new psychiatrist and also the other one, and like they didn't believe me,
Mhm.
um, mainly because they told me they are very small doses. Like what you did, it's it's almost impossible. Like it's they are very small doses, and you only took it for very few time.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, so one of those psychiatrists uh, prescribed me an SSRI again.
Hey everyone, this is Mark Millick with the Moral Medicine YouTube channel. So today I have the pleasure of speaking to Jorge. So Jorge is a PSSD patient, PSSD standing for Post-SSRI Sexual Dysfunction. And today he's here to tell us his story. So Jorge, thank you for joining us, man.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jorge, we'll jump into it, man. You mind giving me a rundown on what your life was like before you developed PSSD?
Yes, sure. I mean, everything was good in my life. I was having a lot of difficulty in the past with OCD
Hmm.
and anxiety.
Hmm.
But at that point, right before I got PSSD, I was very good, except for one small thing that was I had a bit of social anxiety,
Okay.
and like I didn't need to take the med again, but I decided to take it
Hmm.
because I was kind of annoyed that every time I tried to talk to girls, I would
Hmm.
get very nervous,
Sure.
and that's the reason I took it again. The med, like it was very stupid,
Hmm.
uh, but yeah.
So just so I understand here, you were taking the medication, and what was the medication? Was it Cymbalta?
No, it was like years ago. It was first sertraline and then escitalopram.
Okay, I got you. So you were taking the medication for a while before. I think you told me before the interview it was about 2 years, and then
Yes.
you came off it. You were off it for a little bit, and I think you went back on it, came off it again, and then the third time you went on it, you took one pill, and then that's when you developed side effects. Is that correct?
The fourth time. The
It was
fourth
the fourth
time.
time. Okay. So
Yes.
in those times that you were getting the medication, how were you prescribed it? Did you go to a doctor? I think you told me it was over the counter. How did you get the medication?
So I was able to take escitalopram in the past and quit without issue.
Hmm.
The first time I took it for 2 years, and the other two times I took it for a smaller period of time.
Hmm.
The first time it was prescribed to me by a neurologist.
Hmm.
It's a long story why it got prescribed, but
Sure.
in briefly, I was having, according to my emotions, I was having certain physical symptoms.
Hmm.
So I thought maybe something's wrong with me. So I went to a neurologist, and he made some tests and told me everything was right. I think you have depression,
Hmm.
and just told me, here, take this. He gave me some sample, and that's how I got into these antidepressants.
Hmm.
Uh, and I took it for 2 years, a bit more, and I was able to quit without issue. Within 1 month of tapering, I was able to quit.
Okay.
Um, and then I took it two more times again, and those two times I took them by myself.
Okay.
Here in Mexico, the SSRIs are available You don't need a prescription. You can go to any pharmacy, even supermarkets sell them and get them. And that's how I got them the other times.
They're over the counter then. You can basically go to any supermarket or drugstore and pick these things up then.
Yes, yes, yes.
So let's talk about the fourth time then. You took the medication. You only took, I think you said, one dose. And
Yes,
then
only one.
how soon after did you start developing side effects after that one dose?
Yeah, it was very weird. I mean, the reason I took it was because a very stupid reason, because I wanted to feel more secure when talking to women.
Right.
And I thought, I can, because some people have told me that when you, for example, smoke, your anxiety reduces.
Sure.
Or with alcohol, like it's easily to socialize, and
Right.
and I say to myself, like, I want to do something healthier, because I always done a lot of exercise. So I say, like, I don't want to smoke, I don't want to drink alcohol. I'm gonna start to take SSRI again, like a very small dose.
Right.
So I started taking 1/4 of a pill, of a 10 milligram pill,
Okay.
which is like 2.5 milligrams.
Mhm.
And I only took one dose, and I didn't like the effect of the drug. Like, it reminded me how I felt while taking the drug.
Right.
So I decided I'm not going to take it anymore.
Mhm.
And days later, like after the effect went away, because the next day I still felt the effect of the drug. It
Okay.
takes like 2 days to get out if you only take one dose.
Mhm.
Days later, I realized that I wasn't feeling the same as I was before.
Mhm.
I realized that I wasn't feeling emotions like I should. Uh, Mainly, I realized with romantic emotions, like
Mhm.
I couldn't feel romantic emotions as I
Right.
used to. And also, like, I wasn't as attracted sexually to women. Like, it was very weird. Those two symptoms were the main ones.
Mhm.
And I I went right away to a psychiatrist to talk him about this.
Okay.
I waited some weeks after this happened, because the psychiatrist told me, give it some weeks to see what happened. And yeah, like, weeks passed. I didn't get any better. Absolutely no any change.
Mhm.
And that's when I decided to take it again by my own,
Okay.
because I thought maybe this happened to me because I only took one dose. Like, in the past, I took it for several days.
Sure.
I thought maybe this time this happened because I only took one dose. So I decided to experiment, which was very, very bad to do.
Mhm. Right. And so you took that one dose. Did things get worse after you took that one dose again, or kind of what happened after that?
Well, when I decided to experiment again,
Mhm.
I decided to take it for 5 days.
Mhm.
So I took several doses each day. Each
Okay.
day, they
Yeah.
were all small doses. Like, it wasn't even a tablet.
Okay.
Uh, in the past, when I took it for 2 years, I took mainly 10 milligrams every day. 10 milligrams,
Mhm.
and sometimes I increased it to 15. Sometimes I decreased it to 5
Mhm.
without issue. Um, but yeah, so I experimented 5 days,
Sure.
and it was very impressive, because when I took it again, my symptoms went away. My symptoms went away.
That's interesting.
However, yeah, however, the effect of the med that I disliked was on.
Mhm.
Uh, but after the experiment, also I have to mention that I felt less the drug. Like, this time,
Mhm.
I felt it less. Like, I was less sensitive to the drug.
Mhm.
Uh, and after this experiment, days later, my symptoms returned. So this was my hypothesis that taking it by several days, that's something there was. But yeah, I think it is understood what I was trying to say.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, like my symptoms return, and yeah, I don't know if you have any questions to now.
Yeah, I think it's just a comment here. It's really interesting that you took it again for 5 days. Your symptoms kind of relieved themselves. Am I understanding that correctly? You felt a little better
Yes,
taking it for those 5 days, but you didn't like the way you were feeling. I guess you were probably feeling kind of numb, if I had to imagine. Is
yes,
that accurate? Okay.
exactly.
And then you came off, and then the symptoms came back, and they came back in full force, essentially. So at this point, how long have you been off the drug?
Well, when they came back, it was like 3 days later.
Okay.
But yeah, so then they came back, and I decided to wait several weeks to see if something happened.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a new psychiatrist. I started researching a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and I decided to experiment again, which is a bad decision.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I took one uh, one half of a tablet of 10 milligrams. So I took 5 milligrams, and the next day also 5 milligrams,
Mm-hmm.
and that was it. And as expected, my symptoms went away again.
Wow.
My symptoms went away. However, days later, after the drug effect went away,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I got worse. Like
Mm-hmm.
now I got more symptoms, and I got significantly worse.
Mm-hmm.
I started mainly with brain fog, and
Okay.
also a bit of I don't know how it's pronounced, aphantasia. Like I couldn't
Akaesthesia,
visually see.
maybe? Is it where your body moves around, like akaesthesia? Or
No. It's aphantasia, like something like that. But it's where when you can't visualize stuff in your mind.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't know the term for that, but I know exactly what you're talking about there. Okay. Yep.
Yes, and well, I speak to the new psychiatrist and also the other one, and they didn't believe me, mainly because they told me they are very small doses. Like what you did, it's almost impossible. Like they are very small doses, and you only took it for very few time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so one of those psychiatrists prescribed me an SSRI again. So he told me,
Okay.
I think it seems you have symptoms of depression and anxiety. Here, I'm going to prescribe you fluoxetine,
Mm-hmm.
which is, I think, a Prozac.
I think it's Prozac. Yeah.
Yes. And I told him, like, what if I got worse? Like, all these symptoms started because I took an SSRI, and you wanted to treat it, just giving me another SSRI.
Right. Right.
And after like discussing, after discussing, he told me, okay, let's try this. Take escitalopram again, and let's see what happened. So this time I was prescribed escitalopram, and I decided to experiment again,
Mm-hmm.
which was the worst decision, because after this final experiment, I got a lot worse.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I started taking again escitalopram. I started with a small dose, and this time, while well, to make it short, I started taking escitalopram again.
Okay.
And I was planning to taper a bit, like because I thought when I take it again, my symptoms went away.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to start tapering a bit to see maybe if that works.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that. My tapers were not very small, but they were yeah, they weren't very small.
Mm-hmm.
So I tapered. I started taking the med one day, and I tapered the following days,
Right.
like 1 week. And this time, something new happened. In my last day of taking this drug,
Mm-hmm.
like the day I was supposed to quit, like my final dose,
Mm-hmm.
that day I was feeling very good. Like
Mm.
my symptoms were inexistent.
Yeah.
The drug effect was on, but it was very small because I was in a very small dose this time. Very, very small. Like I say, less than 1 milligram, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I thought, finally, I'm getting out of this nightmare.
Right.
And this time, something very weird happened that I started getting pain in the urethra.
Okay.
Like it's something like it's almost funny,
Mm-hmm.
but I knew it was related to escitalopram because in the past, when I took this med, I will get sometimes pain in the urethra
Okay.
depending on certain emotions. So I knew it was related to escitalopram.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought maybe I'm tapering too fast. Maybe
Okay.
this happened because I'm tapering too fast.
Mm-hmm.
So the next day, I took a bit more, a tiny bit more, and this was my last dose I have ever taken. I haven't taken any more dose since that day. Uh, so yeah, the next day I took that dose, and minutes later, after taking that dose, like only minutes later, I started feeling very, very different. Very, very different. I thought I was getting serotonin syndrome.
Okay.
Uh, and I even like call my psychiatrist. Well, I write him in WhatsApp, but he answers very fast.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him about that. He told me I don't think it's serotonin syndrome. You will be like that's an emergency.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, after that day, which was 26th of March of 2024,
Okay.
after minutes after taking that last dose, I have been feeling exactly the same to this day.
And it's
Um,
been almost a year since then. You said March of 2024 is when you came
yeah,
on. That was your last dose.
yes, my last dose.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, like, in the following days after that day, I started discovering many new symptoms, like full body numbness, like all
Mm-hmm.
the body, I feel it less. I
Okay.
started discovering uh, like tingling in hands and feet.
Mm-hmm.
I started discovering numb genitals.
Mm-hmm.
Like I started getting a lot of symptoms after that day, and to this day I haven't improved anything.
Man, Jorge, I'm so sorry to hear that. I got a couple questions here. I guess number one, I want to highlight this. I think it's pretty incredible that you kept going to different psychiatrists and all they kept doing was prescribing you different SSRIs. And I think it's interesting to note that you took the medication initially for 2 years and you felt fine, but then you kept starting or stopping, restarting, stopping, restarting over the course of a year or two, and that's when you develop these symptoms. I just think it's kind of insanity that you were just prescribed multiple SSRIs on different occasions to try to treat an issue that was caused by an SSRI. One of the questions I have here is: did you know what PSSD was before you took the medication? Had you ever heard of PSSD, or how did you learn about PSSD?
Yes, I already knew what PSSD was.
Okay.
Uh, However, as also many doctors, well, many psychiatrists think, I thought PSSD was something very rare. I
Mm-hmm.
thought it was something uh, kind of not as severe. I thought it was maybe like erection problems
Sure.
after taking it for very long term. So
Right.
I thought maybe like PSSD happened to people who took it for many years.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I thought like maybe it was a bit of erection problems or a bit of libido problems.
Right.
I knew that existed, uh, but I never imagined that it will cause like only one dose will will cause in some people numb genitals or things like that.
Right. I think I want to highlight that is that for some people, they're very sensitive to PSSD, right? So even something as simple as one dose can trigger all these symptoms. And the other thing too is that, yeah, when you hear about PSSD, you think it's just sexual issues, right? And for some people it is. For other people, it's sexual issues, it's neurological issues like the brain fog. I've talked to people who have muscle twitching. I've talked to people who have muscle loss. You mentioned numbness all over your body, anhedonia, the inability to visualize anything. It goes way beyond just the sexual issues. And those are very life-ruining in themselves, obviously. So one thing I want to highlight as well for the audience, you sent me a chart of basically your progress over the course of the time that you were working with these psychiatrists and taking different SSRIs to track what was happening to you. And you said every time you took a new one, you would, in this case, you initially got better for maybe a couple of days, but then you would get worse over the course of time. So I think people need to know that restarting an SSRI could very well potentially make you worse. So I want people to be careful with that, obviously. And,
Yes.
you know, at this point, it's been a year for you. Have you gone to any additional doctors to see if they could help you, or, you know, has anything helped? Have you tried, you know, supplementation or anything, or trying different diets or anything like that?
Well, yes, I have gone to a lot of doctors. Like I have went to endocrinologist, neurologist, urologist, too many, like maybe more than 15 now, and I'm still going to doctors. My experience generally is that some tell me it's not possible. These drugs did that to you,
Right.
and I many times come prepared. Like I show them like here are some like some medical literature. Like here are some publications.
Right.
Like here is the name of many organizations like around the world of many people damaged by these meds. And then like they just tell me like stop reading things on the internet, or like that is not anything official. It needs to be official.
Right.
Some other doctors just tell me like I don't know, you should go to another specialist, and they just send me to another specialist, and the other specialist send me to another specialist. Like for example, the urologist just told me I see everything fine, so I don't have nothing to check. And then he sends me to the psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist tells me I see everything fine, and the neurologist, and like that. And some others try to just prescribe me a drug. They think it will help, but like I researched on the internet that drug, and it seems that it caused other PSSD or PFS, other people that have those syndromes, like it made them worse. So like I don't want to take the risk.
Right.
So yeah, like I'm still going to the doctor. Like right now, I'm trying to get tested for several things. I'm trying to get tested of small fiber neuropathy, because apparently many PSSD patients have gotten positive of small fiber neuropathy.
I've heard of that.
So I'm curious. I mean, and that makes sense. For example, I have tingling in hands and feet.
Right.
Like that's a symptom of neuropathy. And also like the anhedonia, the difficulty visualizing things. Like I can't visualize things in my head anymore. And I'm a engineering student, like, and I was very good at school, and like I was very good with maths. I could imagine in my head engineering problems, and now I can't.
Yeah.
It's very, very hard. I have to write everything down. I have to draw everything.
Yeah.
All those are symptoms of neuropathy. I saw online. Yeah, that's what I've been trying. I just what have I taken to get better? Well, I was prescribed at one point. I mean, I have been prescribed many times SSRIs again, Like I it seems that psychiatrist is equal to SSRIs. Like you go to a psychiatrist and they uh, just want to give you SSRIs.
Right.
Is their candy. uh, but apart from SSRIs, I have been prescribed vitamin D, which I took for several weeks, I think, and it didn't make any change. I took omega 3, and also it didn't do any change. And apart from that, I haven't taken anything else. I have tried fasting, but also it didn't do any change. In fact, like my symptoms haven't changed anything. Like since 26th of March, well, that exact day I didn't have the numbness. The numbness kind of appeared the following days, but after that week, I have been exactly the same. Like they don't even vary. Like it's the same baseline.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm really sorry to hear that, man. I mean, your experience with doctors is pretty much the same experience that everybody has. You know, I went to a bunch of different neurologists. I went to endocrinologists. Every single one wanted to prescribe me an SSRI when I was dealing with the effects of post-SSRI syndrome, right? Because they didn't believe me. So they thought this was just anxiety and depression. They wanted to give me, I think, Prozac in particular. I never took it. Something inside me told me, do not take this medication, because I felt like it was going to make things worse. But it seems like when doctors can't figure out the issue, they just attribute it to depression or anxiety, and they want to prescribe an SSRI, which is the reason why you're here in the first place, obviously.
Yes, yes.
So let me ask you this, Jorge. Have you talked to your family about this?
Yes, and even my friends, even my professors, I have told my professors at university, because like I always been like good grades, and since this happened, like I tell them like I have cognitive issues, like, but yeah, like I have told many people, I have lost many friends, including family members as friends, because I've seen like people kind of, I mean, first of all, my personality changed. Like I'm not the same I was. I'm a lot more serious, and like, yeah, my personality changed, and that made some people like get away. Also, the fact that I don't enjoy many activities I did before. Like with some friends, I used to do some stuff, but I don't enjoy it because of the anhedonia.
Right.
So I lost many frequent friends I had. Also, many kind of just think I'm like I have a mental disorder or something.
Right.
Because many people kind of start getting a bit away from me. Mostly because when this just happened, like the first months, like I was very pessimistic, very bad, and I always talk about this. Like I always mention people like it's terrible. I don't know what to do. So I kind of made people get away from me. Uh, like, well, very few people have helped me do something. Very few family members have support me in some way. Yeah, like this condition made me realize to whom I'm really important.
Right.
But yeah, the problem is that there's not much they can do. Like,
right.
Yeah, because they don't have idea how to help me. So, because of the complexity of this issue, like, people don't know how to help me. So that's another point.
Right. Well, I'll tell you this, Jorge, you know, you're not alone in this. Obviously, there's a lot of people dealing with this. It's unfortunate, but you're not alone in this. But I can relate to everything you're saying there about how it's impacted your life. You know, you said you're a student, obviously. You've got brain fog. It makes it tough for you to maintain your grades. you've lost family members and friends to this because you kind of, your personality kind of pushes them away. You become distant yourself in a sense, obviously. I can relate to all that, man. So,
Yes.
one of my last questions here, do you feel like you had enough warning and information on these drug side effects before you took the medication, or did you have no awareness at all that this could happen?
No, of course not. Like, doctors never told me anything about adverse effects.
Right.
I mean, I told you I knew about PSSD and I knew about withdrawal, but that's because I saw it on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, of course not. Like, not even one doctor told me about adverse effects.
Right.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it seems like, they tell you that if you sustain any side effects while taking the drug, those side effects will go away once you quit the drug, over the course of a couple of days or weeks. They're not going to stay with you. And in your case, you actually developed new side effects when you came off the last time. That's when you got the body numbness, I think is what you were telling me, and
Yes.
the neuropathy. So the symptoms can persist or develop once you quit the medication. I think more people need to be aware of that. You could be taking the medication. I've talked to people who take, this medication and they're just fine for years. And then when they come off, that's when they develop these side effects. It's like a serious withdrawal. The body's trying to rebalance itself. So it's really horrifying.
Yes, it seems that what causes this syndrome, it's either the increase or decrease of the dose, because I've heard some people that have certain dose and they just decrease it to a certain dose,
Mm-hmm.
and they get the syndrome.
It's unbelievable. It really is. So, Jorge, final question here, man. Do you have any closing statements you want to make before we hop off? Anything else you want to tell the audience?
Yes, some quick things. One of them I just want to mention about doctors is that I have tried with many doctors for them to give me a diagnosis, like a paper telling that symptoms appeared after I take the drug.
Mm-hmm.
But to date, no doctor have wanted to do it. Some have even told me, like, I don't want my name related to this syndrome. And I don't know if that's the case in the USA, but here in Mexico, I think certain SSRI companies like give them like pay them for them to offer their brands.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that may be related to that.
Sure.
But yeah, that's about doctors. What I want to mention is that to all people having this syndrome, like, we need to work together. We need to act, because if we don't do anything, it's going to take forever. Like, we need to act.
Right.
And also, para todos los que hablan español, hay muy pocos recursos y creo que hasta la fecha no hay una organización bien establecida, y pues estaría bien que nos unamos. Voy a preguntarle a Mark si puede compartir nuestra organización que acabamos de establecer en México. And that's all.
I really appreciate those closing statements, Jorge. And I think you really touched on an important point, which is that we need to collaborate as a community to move this forward. If masses of people start speaking out about PSSD and PFS and post-Accutane syndrome and all these other syndromes associated with these drugs, we could really make some real traction here, and we could get the reform and the research that we need to get better. I really believe that. So I really appreciate you saying that. And Jorge, thank you so much for jumping on, man. Really appreciate it. My heart goes out to you. Stay strong. We're going to find a way to get out of this. Just keep fighting the good fight, man. And thank you.
Thank you very much.